and manufacturing sectors. Paramedics in our region are getting ready for a possible strike. It's in response to what the union describes as a deterioration of service. And tonight we'll hear from Ontario's first female teacher of African descent. The 99-year-old is sharing her story. At least 3,700 people killed. That is the latest stunning figure after the earthquake that devastated southern Turkey and northern Syria. It struck in the middle of the night, bringing down buildings and sending people into the winter cold. CBC's Abby Kukadasan reports.
In the chaos, rescuers in Adana ask for silence as they press their ears against the rubble, listening for any survivors. Similar scenes across 10 Turkish cities as first responders race against the clock. Across the southern part of the country and northwest Syria, the magnitude 7.8 quake hit around 4 a.m. local time. It brought down thousands of buildings full of sleeping people. Some joyous moments in a long day filled with tragedy. This young girl pulled from the rubble in Kahramanmaraş, one of the worst hit areas, while this father can't contain his relief at finding his child alive. The international response came quickly. NATO says it's mobilizing support to aid member state Turkey. Turkey is not part of the European Union, but coordinates with the bloc for natural disasters.
We have mobilized more than 10 urban search and rescue teams from a number of member states.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeting, "The reports and images from Turkey and Syria are devastating. Canada stands ready to provide assistance." Across the border in northwest Syria, the White Helmets at work, a volunteer rescue group known for saving thousands of lives throughout the civil war. It's facing a monumental task in quake-struck, opposition-held Idlib.
It's a very difficult task for us. We need help. We need the international community to do something to help us, to support us.
Concern, too, about aid reaching those living in a conflict zone.
When it comes to humanitarian needs, we have to and we must put politics aside.
4 million people fled their homes seeking refuge here after suffering years of unrelenting airstrikes by their own government, now betrayed by the ground beneath them. Abby Kouadasan, CBC News, London.
There are fears of aftershocks following the earthquake. The CBC's Dalia Ashri is in the Turkish city Gaziantep. Here is her account in the moments the tremors struck.
Oh, I'm just feeling an earthquake right now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is bad. Okay, it's really shaky. Okay. So right now there is a chandelier above me. It's shaking, as you could probably see. I'm trying to hold still, walking, and here, this is inside the hotel. Everything's shaking around. I don't want to step out, actually. I've been informed not to because it's bricks around and it could fall on us. So it's actually safer for me to kind of stand around here. But let me see, maybe I can just, oh, people are praying.
And people in Windsor have been following this closely. TJ Deere joins us now live in studio for more on this. TJ, you spent the day talking with people in our community, with family near the epicenter of where the earthquake happened. So what are you hearing today?
Well, the people I spoke with today all expressed their shock and dismay that this has happened. Those who have family and friends in Turkey and Syria have all been trying to get in touch with their loved ones and hope that they're all right.
It was shocking for all of us. Regardless that if we have people, very close families there or not.
Dr. Ahmad Shaker has friends and other family members who were near the epicenter of the earthquake. After repeatedly trying to get in contact with them, he finally got through this morning. One of them was crying from what he see. The other one was shocked, again, like what the shock we have. Everybody shocked. It's something unbelievable. Yassin Al-Mahmoud is the owner of House of Syria Suites. He's here in Windsor, but his thoughts are with his brother in Syria. He says his brother told him that authorities don't have the right equipment to get people out of the rubble. People are also sitting in the streets without medicine, and the hospitals are not equipped to help that many people. The Windsor Islamic Association has members from both Turkey and Syria. They've set up a relief fund to help efforts there. The devastating images coming out of both countries has compelled the local Muslim community to step up.
We as a community want to try to help people as much as possible from that region of the world, especially because we have such prominent members of our community from Turkey and Syria who doubtless will have been affected or will have heard of people that they know who are affected by this.
Although the local Islamic community is doing what they can to help with relief efforts, Shakir wants to see the federal government do more to end the conflict in Syria.
Hopefully, they can push harder to have a permanent solution for the Syrian crisis, to have in Syria what the Syrian revolution in the beginning called for: justice, freedom, and democracy.
Now, about that fundraiser, they've already raised more than $9,000. Mizrahi said it will go towards relief efforts in Turkey and Syria. They're continuing to collect donations through the Windsor Islamic Association.
Thanks very much for this, TJ.
You're welcome.
The Prime Minister spoke briefly with reporters in Ottawa today about the earthquake and promised Canadian assistance.
Our hearts go out to the families, the communities deeply affected by this terrible, terrible event. Canada is looking at how we can help directly and immediately, but also how we can work with the international community to be there for people who are suffering right now in the immediate and for the long term.
The Deputy Prime Minister started her week in Lakeshore today. Chrystia Freeland was pushing this area as a leader in Canada's industrial economy. The CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa was there asking how the federal government plans to help raise a low unemployment rate.
It was here at manufacturer Rico Automation in Lakeshore that Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland got a glimpse of the latest technology in the auto industry. Freeland was shown a plastic weld machine. It's not in use just yet, but is in the debugging stages. This machine will secure sensors and brackets onto the front bumpers of future autonomous vehicles. Once ready, the machine will be used by an auto parts manufacturer. Freeland said that the purpose for her visit was to look at how Canada, and specifically Windsor, can claim its share of the industrial economy. And she said the best way to do that is to talk to the people on the ground.
Really talking to the people who work here, understanding what they like about their jobs, the challenges in their lives. That is really, really helpful for me in thinking about how, in the upcoming budget, we support companies like Rico in doing that. Support Canada as we build that clean economy for the 21st century.
She spoke about Canada's low unemployment rate and how the country's economy is really going to grow in the next few years. But here in Windsor, the region has the highest unemployment rate of large Canadian cities. And while EVs are going to bring new jobs, they might also lead to cuts as the vehicles are simpler to make.
I am very aware of the role that Windsor has played in the Canadian economy of the past century. And what our government is absolutely committed to is to ensure that Windsor and Canada have our fair share, I would say more than our fair share, in the industrial economy of the 21st century.
Freeland says she also heard from workers here today about how they need to do a better job when it comes to training young people in the manufacturing and technology sectors. She says she understands this and they're going to try to bring more opportunities. Jennifer Lagrassa, CBC News, Lakeshore.
Paramedics in our region have voted 100% in favor of a strike as contract negotiations continue. The union says that staffing shortages are a significant issue. Now, if a strike happens, paramedics will continue to respond to 911 calls in some way. Provincial legislation requires something called an essential ambulance service agreement to be in place before a strike can occur. Right now, that is not in place. So in April, the Ontario Labour Relations Board will make a binding decision on how a strike could happen, if it ever does. QP 2974 represents paramedics at Essex Windsor EMS. The union says understaffing is a significant problem that's putting the community at risk. Right now, nearly 40 paramedics are off work due to workplace injuries, according to the local's president. QP says paramedics are leaving at the same rate new ones are being hired. It's also not uncommon for them to skip meal breaks and work overtime to make up for it. The union says it wants more to be invested in recruitment and retention efforts and points to other first responders with better pay and working conditions. Essex Windsor EMS Chief Bruce Crowder declined to comment during negotiations. You might recall back in November, pediatric hospitals across Ontario were being overwhelmed by children needing treatment for COVID-19, RSV, and the flu. At the time, some were critical of the province's top doctor for not reimposing a mask mandate. Tonight, we're getting a glimpse into what went into that decision. A Public Health Ontario science brief obtained by the Canadian Press says introducing a mask mandate may not have eased the crush on pediatric hospitals. The brief says the effects of masking on the transmission of COVID-19 are strong, but with influenza and RSV also circulating at that time, the benefits of mask mandates were less clear. Moore telling the Canadian Press in a recent interview that the body of evidence for strictly implementing a mask mandate wasn't there. The federal government is going to propose a 10-year plan to fund and reform Canada's healthcare system. Sources tell CBC News Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will reveal the details tomorrow when he meets with the premiers. The provincial and territorial leaders are in Ottawa today for meetings of their own. CBC's Marina von Stackelberg reports.
Hi, Premier. How are you? Premiers arrived in Ottawa confident a deal could be coming soon to fix their healthcare systems.
I think at this stage we're ready to make something happen.
Well, we haven't seen any details yet. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic.
According to sources with knowledge of the plan, the federal government will propose a 10-year funding agreement. The premiers say long-term dollars are key.
They should not only be for 10 years, but ultimately be wrapped into, permanent funding.
Sources also tell CBC News the money could be coming soon. Ottawa's offer would see funding flow as soon as this spring's federal budget.
We will be there putting more money on the table, but it's also important to make sure that the focus is on results and outcomes for Canadians.
The finance minister was asked to give more details about how much extra money could be coming.
I am certainly not going to steal the Prime Minister's thunder ahead of that meeting.
While provinces and territories are responsible for delivering healthcare, the federal government helps to fund it. Premiers have pushed Ottawa for years to increase the amount of money it gives them to pay for healthcare by billions of dollars.
There will be some significant discussions, and I think it's really good progress that we're here.
Everybody's optimistic that we're going to find they're going to table something that's going to be strong.
Coming here very open, I think we realize how important healthcare is. And our big reliance with our partners, with Ontario as an example, where we utilize the relationship we have for medical services we can't provide in territory.
The premiers have been holding their own meetings today ahead of their sit-down with Trudeau and say they'll meet afterwards once they know the details of the deal.
Well, we'll sit down as a group of premiers and discuss it with the federal government once they propose their offer to us.
CBC News has learned the federal government plans to offer up more funding for healthcare across the board, but it will be also offering substantial money to individual provinces and territories to meet their specific healthcare needs. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Protesters gathered in Windsor yesterday, gathering to mark the anniversary of last year's Freedom Convoy blockade. They were at the old Silver City location at Walker and Provincial, with cars and trucks displaying Canadian flags, flags insulting the Prime Minister. They honked and chanted, continuing to speak against government and against COVID mandates. A much smaller demonstration than the one that shut down the Ambassador Bridge traffic 12 months ago. Tomorrow will be exactly 1 year since the bridge blockade began, and for that we'll dive into the impact it's had on the community and the local industry, both then and now. That'll be tomorrow night. A shortage of building inspectors is putting a squeeze on Windsor. A third of positions at the city are currently vacant, and that's putting a strain on the building department's ability to deliver services.
We are falling a little bit behind because of the shortage of staff we're having, and it's very, very difficult to recruit.
Of the 15 building inspector positions at the city, 5 are vacant. Tecumseh also has 2 openings for building inspectors, and LaSalle also had 1 of its 2 inspector positions open for months. The Residential Construction Council of Ontario says the shortage isn't just a Windsor-Essex problem, it's a province-wide issue.
All the municipalities, all 444, I believe, or more, are competing for those same resources. Like, there's only so many licensed building officials out there. And if they're all just poaching from one another, then you're really just filling a void and creating a void in another municipality. So that's why there definitely has to be more people entering the profession. Otherwise, it's just municipalities competing for the same set of resources out there. And that's the real problem, that with the level of construction activity that has arisen over the last few years, I think there definitely needs to be more resourcing to meet that demand. And I think the continued housing activity that we've seen is only going to grow. So there definitely needs to be a shift in how we attract, educate, and license building officials.
A live look outside there. We had a pretty cloudy day today, and tomorrow we got rain and double digits. Nick Sirkovich will be here after the break to talk us through it. Stay with us. Nick Sirkovich is here now for a look at our local weather forecast. And Nick, we got to talk about those double digits for tomorrow.
I know, big change from last week with the cold snap and everything. This is much nicer. I'm glad I'm here today, not last week.
We like it too.
Yeah, I always seem to find the right time to come in. And Colette gets to give you all the bad news. -1 is where we're sitting right now, and temperatures on the rise. So this is actually around about the seasonal mark. Not much to speak of in terms of wind chills, about -6. The winds aren't too bad. As we head through tomorrow, though, we're watching another system that's going to move in. It will bring some warmer temperatures, though, with it, but cloud cover starting to roll in across the region. And this with sort of a weak cold front that's going to push through. In advance of it, though, we get these sort of southwesterly winds, and that's going to pump in some warmer air. Now, this is a look at tomorrow morning, and we're actually going to see temperatures rising through the overnight. So instead of sort of dipping off and then continuing to drop till the morning hours, we'll see the temperatures rise through the overnight period. By tomorrow morning, we're above the 0 mark. A few rain showers there as this system pushes through, and then some spotty showers into the sort of mid-morning hours before it clears out, and then just looking at some cloud cover. Tuesday night into Wednesday, cloud cover begins to clear out, a mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday. Thursday, though, another system, this bringing with it some winds and also perhaps a good deal of rainfall as well, so more of that rainy winter weather. I mentioned the winds here. This is what it looks like as we head through the evening hours tonight, but through the overnight into tomorrow, wind gusts out of the south and the southwest up to about 60, even 70 kilometers per hour. That continues through the early afternoon hours before the winds shift, and then they slowly begin to ease off through tomorrow evening and into Wednesday. Temperature-wise through the overnight period, as I mentioned, temperatures climbing by tomorrow morning above the 0 mark, and then into the afternoon. Yeah, there you go, double digits. Now, it doesn't last too long. We see sort of a roller coaster ride in terms of our temps, but nonetheless, a few showers there, 11 degrees for tomorrow. Wednesday, a little cooler, 3. Maybe that's a little pessimistic. We could add a degree or 2 on top of that with the sunshine. Thursday, climbing up to 7 degrees and some rainfall there as well. We'll watch that as we head through Thursday, and then a cool off as we head through Saturday. But this week, above seasonal, pretty good looking temps.
Yeah, I'm constantly surprised by the up and down of Windsor.
I know.
It's pretty amazing.
I know. Tell me about it.
Thanks for that, Nick.
You bet.
When we come back, a retired teacher with a big legacy. We meet her after the break. Stay with us. want to introduce you now to a retired teacher who left a big mark in this province. Millie Burgess is 99 years old. She was born in Bermuda and was the first female teacher of African descent to teach in the Ontario school system, according to the Ontario Human Rights Commission's records. Talia Ricci sat down with her to learn more about her career.
Some of them were so exciting to teach. You know, they were anxious to learn more.
Even at 99 years old, it's clear the memories and the pride Millie Burgess has for her career hasn't waned.
And they would say, "Oh, how many children do you have?" And I said, 20, and they just about dropped. They couldn't believe, 20? What are you talking about? I said, "Oh, I'm a teacher."
Burgess's teaching career in Toronto spanned 35 years. She's believed to be among the first Black teachers in Canada, landing her first job in the late 50s.
Toronto didn't have that many Black people. At first, it was kind of scary, but you know, I got over that.
She says at that time, many of the children were European immigrants, which meant she was also tasked with teaching them how to speak English.
Each weekend, I would spend about, I say 3 hours, 4 hours I used to spend setting up my schedule for the week. And my husband would say, "Let's go to the movies." And I said, "I can't go, I've got to get this done for this." And he said, "You only work 5 days a week, not 7.
But despite that passion and dedication she had for the job, she still experienced moments like this.
And he said, I'm here to talk to the teacher. Where is the teacher?" So I said, "I am the teacher." He said, You are the teacher?" He went to the office and he said to the principal, "Do you have any persons in your grade 1 classroom that's white? Because I don't want my child being taught by a Black teacher."
Burgess is now celebrated by other Black educators for opening doors for others, including members of her own family.
She's sort of like the leader, the trailblazer for the family. So my mother and 2 of my aunties were like the first Black teachers in Toronto Board of Education. So that's kind of a cool legacy.
And she knew that if she had a Black child in her class, she was modeling for that Black child that this was a profession that they for sure could consider following. And it was also teaching everyone that if you just see us and learn from us, be with us, you'll see that we're all really just the same.
When asked what advice she'd give to young people deciding on a career, the award-winning teacher repeated what her mother always told her.
Go to school and learn as much education that you can. Take in everything you can.
Her legacy is sure to continue well beyond her years in the classroom. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Annual carnival celebrations are getting underway in Venice. The Italian city that's famous for its canals launched pre-carnival festivities with its traditional boat parade. Look at that. Hundreds of brightly decorated boats carried costumed characters along the city's Grand Canal. Venice Carnival, which dates back to the 11th century, returned in all its splendor this year, now that pandemic restrictions have been dropped. The historic event officially starts this coming Saturday. The 2 weeks of revelry continue until the start of Lent, a traditional Christian period of fasting prior to Easter. And before we go, we have a big update here for the city of Windsor. We are one step closer to having an official bird. And now it's up to you. So here's what we've got to pick from. The photos are on your screen there. We've got the black-capped chickadee, the common nighthawk, the northern cardinal, the peregrine falcon, and the tufted titmouse. 5 solid selections there. Interestingly, the cobra chicken, also known as the Canada goose, did not make the top 5. Now, if you want to vote, you can head to bestofwindsoressex.ca, and voting closes at the end of the month. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.